Hello, everyone. Tonight, we are standing at the edge of the world's oldest nursery, a place hidden beneath overgrown cliffs and silent canopies, where evolution seems to have forgotten to finish its sentence. The air smells like moss and wet clay, and the earth squishes with secrets. There's a creature here, small, soft-skinned, and wide-eyed, that hatched once and never moved on. While everything else around it grew teeth, claws, armor, and attitude, it stayed exactly the same. You're that creature, and spoiler alert, you probably won't survive. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. Also, post your location and what time it is where you're watching. I want to know who's listening from what corner of the earth. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. You shuffle along the edge of your nest, which is really more of a cracked cup made from dry leaves, and the forgotten bones of something mid-sized and unlucky. Your limbs are stumpy round like freshly sprouted roots, and your head still fits neatly under your own belly if you curl just right. The wind nudges the feathers on your spine, and they puff up instinctively, a defense reflex from a body that thinks you're still in danger, even though you've never left this nest. Others from your clutch hatched and vanished. Some probably got eaten. Some probably grew, some probably turned into fossils with really dramatic backstories. You didn't. You stayed. The egg goo barely dried before your body hit pause, as if someone hit the sleep button on the remote of life. You didn't get bigger, you didn't get faster, but you did get smarter. That's the trade-off no one told you about. In some animals, even today, this condition exists. It's called neoteny, where juvenile features remain into adulthood. Axolotls, those smiling amphibians, never lose their gills. Some historians still debate whether certain ancient human ancestors also showed neotenous traits. Big eyes, softer skulls, slower development as a kind of evolutionary insurance policy. But you don't know any of that, so all you know is that the big ones come stomping past now and then, and you've learned how not to get squashed. Your world is measured in shadows. The nest sits beneath an overhang of ferns that never dry out. The sun, when it bothers to appear, is more suggestion than presence. You move between slivers of light like a burglar knows, low limbs soft. Every scent is exaggerated. Every vibration in the soil might mean a tail or a tooth or a foot that doesn't care about tiny you. A stegosaur once dropped a pine cone near your nest, and you spent 3 days dissecting it like a surgeon harvesting seeds. It was the highlight of your month. There's one sound you always listen for: the low rumble of something huge. You don't know if it's hunger breathing or just indigestion, but it's the closest thing you have to a clock. When it passes, the ground dances like jelly, and that's your cue to tuck in and wait. It's like being a popcorn kernel on a trampoline. Your body is absurdly soft. The cartilage in your knees never ossifies. Your skull has seams that never close. You still have the soft, peeping voice of a hatchling. No roars, no screeches, just a chirp that sounds like you're complaining about soup being too hot. But in the right moments, that chirp echoes like something much bigger, and that's enough to fool the occasional scavenger. You wonder sometimes if you're broken. Other times you wonder if everyone else is just in a hurry to die. One night during a misty lull where even the mosquitoes seem drowsy, you hear a sound. Not the usual stomps or the wing beats of pterosaurs. This is smaller, higher. A breathy hiss that curls through the ferns like a lullaby made of steam. Your feathers bristle. You chirp back, nothing. Then again the hiss. You creep out of your nest. This is bold for you. Usually the risk-to-snack ratio has to be much better for movement, but curiosity, it's your only real adult feature. You nudge past leaf litter through ankle-high mushrooms that smell like sulfur and moldy bread. The sound returns. It's coming from beneath a fallen log. You peer in. Nothing. Just the hollow belly of rotting wood and a family of beetles staging a very noisy fight. But you chirp again and the hiss answers. You freeze. It sounded like your own voice. Slightly older, slightly deeper. Historians still debate whether early dinosaurs had vocal mimicry capabilities like modern-day lyrebirds or parrots. Some fossil evidence suggests resonating chambers near the nasal passages of certain species, implying potential for complex calls. You wouldn't know, but you do know when something is trying to sound like you. You back away. Whatever that hiss was, it's not finished with you. You retreat into your nest and press your belly to the soft floor. The earth cools you, holds you. Reminds you that staying small might be the smartest thing you've ever done. That night and a half dream, you imagine your siblings returning fully grown, armored, fanged. They don't recognize you. They sniff. They squint. Then they pass confused as if they caught a glimpse of a ghost or a memory out of order. You almost call to the human. Almost. But you don't. Instead, you curl up again and wait for the rumble, the only heartbeat you trust. And when it comes slow and deep, like the belly of the world sighing in its sleep, you press your soft skull to the soil and let the sound carry you. You are not big, you are not strong, but you are still here. The fog comes every morning before the light as if the sky is embarrassed to show its face. You wake in that fog, curled like a fiddlehead beneath your nest's soggy edge, and blink the dew from your lashes. Not that it helps, you can't see more than a few tail lengths ahead anyway. Everything in this valley looks like the past refusing to leave. You're not alone in this. The whole valley is wrapped in a kind of permanent sigh. Ferns droop like they've had one too many existential crises. Trees don't grow straight, they lean crooked, suspicious of gravity. There's a fungus growing on a nearby log that smells like onion breath and betrayal. You've learned to avoid it. This is your world, the forever fogged valley. And whether you chose it or not, it's home. The others, those fast-growing, fast-dying neighbors of yours, don't stay long. Big herbivores come through now and then, stomping through the mist with eyes too small and brains too hopeful. They munch leaves, stomp puddles, and then vanish over ridges. You never see them return. That's the thing, the valley doesn't like returns. But you stay. Maybe because your legs don't carry you far. Maybe because you know the invisible map, the secret creeks in the mud, the whispering burrows under rock, the way the fog sounds when something new has entered it. Today the fog smells like moss tea and wet feathers. That means the hornbills are back. Not real hornbills, mind you, just a nickname for a gang of ankle-high scavengers with heads too big for their bodies and voices like someone gargling gravel. They poke around for bugs and leave tiny spiral droppings. You used to be afraid of them. Then you realize they're even more confused than you are. You track them sometimes. Not to hunt, your claws aren't serious enough for that, but to learn. Where they go, leftovers follow. And where leftovers go, the bigger things don't bother with you. One of them stumbles past your hiding place completely oblivious. You mimic its call just for fun. It freezes, looks around, then bolts into the mist like it just remembered an appointment. You smirk. Small victories. Historians still debate whether certain juvenile dinosaurs developed mimicry as a survival tool, especially in environments where size wasn't an advantage. The theory holds that vocal trickery and behavioral camouflage were evolution's apology for being snack-sized. You believe it. You've seen it work. A few hours pass, though in this fog time drips like sap. You scuttle from rock to rock, low to the ground. Your toes don't make sound, they're too soft. Your tail helps you balance as you sneak beneath an arch of fern. There's something ahead, a clearing. Now, a clearing in this valley is rare. It means one of two things: something died there, or something lives there that keeps everything else out. Either way, you're intrigued. You inch forward. The fog parts just enough to reveal the bones. Not a full skeleton, but a partial ribs curled like broken fingers. A jawbone with teeth worn to nubs and a femur that looks gnawed. It's old. You know old. You can smell it. Taste it in the air like dust and history. Something glints on the ground nearby, a snail shell. No. A polished stone. You inch closer. The bone field is empty now, but you can feel something once was here. Something that marked this spot. Maybe a nesting site. Maybe a feeding ground. Or maybe something worse, a place where a predator paused long enough to digest. You don't stay long. Your instincts whisper, and your instincts have been with you since the egg. You back away, tail-twitching eyes on the fog. Something's watching. Back into the moss. You keep low for hours after that. A joke comes to mind, something like, why did the hatchling cross the foggy valley? Trick question. It didn't. You would have laughed if your species believed in humor. Or laughter, but instead you make a soft snorting noise that scares off a beetle. Close enough. Later, while the fog is thickest, you find shelter beneath a canopy of overlapping leaves. You know this spot. You call it the Green Cave. Not because it's a cave, really, but because it feels like one. Damp, hidden, cool. Safe. You've left scratch marks here before. Your signature, your graffiti. You scratch a new mark, and then you nap. Your dreams are always the same. You're bigger, stronger, faster. You grow in flashes. Wings burst from your shoulders. You breathe fire. Okay, maybe not fire, but heat, warmth, power? Then you wake, and you're the same squishy you. A hatchling in a forever baby body, sleeping in a puddle shaped like your ribs. Odd fact. Did you know some deep-sea creatures never mature past larval form and can reproduce anyway? Eternal children making more eternal children. You wonder if you're like them, some evolutionary prank left on repeat. When the fog lifts slightly, just enough to reveal the outline of the moon above you, stretch. Your joints don't crack. They never matured enough for that. Your steps are silent, your presence almost ghostly. And in that brief light, you spot something across the clearing. A shape, motionless, watching. It's gone the moment you blink. But it looked like you. Same size, same posture, same wide eyes. You whisper into the fog. Who's there? Silence. Then the faintest chirp, your chirp echoes back. This valley remembers everything. It hoards secrets. But you're starting to think, maybe it's not just watching you, maybe it's raising you. Or maybe it never wanted you to grow up in the first place. You wake with your mouth open and your tongue dry. A hatchling's yawn for a world that never changed shape. The moss that pillows your face has molded into your exact dimensions. You've slept here so many times that the ground itself seems to expect you. Around you, the fog drools lazily off the low branches. A stick beetle wanders across your back, pauses like it just realized what it stepped on, and politely climbs off. Your bones are the same. Not weaker, not stronger, just the same. You press your limbs into the dirt, testing. Nothing aches, but nothing advances either. No stretch, no pop. You are the same dimensions you were last year. Maybe the year before that too. You waddle to a reflective pool you know well. It's shallow and half-choked by algae, but on still days like this, it holds your face like a memory. You stare. Round snout, huge eyes, wrinkled edges of feathers that haven't changed since you popped out of your egg like a damp surprise. Your proportions are all wrong for an adult. Still babyish. Still cute, if one were to use that word in the context of a prehistoric survival story. This is the part where most creatures feel alarm, but you don't. You never did. Maybe because you never had the tools for alarm to evolve. Your fear is instinctual, not existential. You're just living each day watching the world grow without you. There's a sound nearby. Not the big stomps, not the hornbill gang. Something slow, something deliberate. You slink toward the sound, every step practiced, every toe angled for silence. Beneath a curtain of vines, you find the source, an old turtle-shaped creature with barnacles on its shell. It's chewing on a mushroom with the same concentration philosophers apply to metaphors. You study it. It does not study you. You think about joining it. But then again, its shell is the size of a canoe, and your entire body is the size of its nostril. Instead, you do what you always do, observe and retreat. That's your rhythm. You are the forever young. Your condition has a name if dinosaurs had neurologists or evolutionary biologists hanging around. In modern science, we'd call it developmental stasis. It's not exactly neoteny anymore. That implies some function still runs its course. You're more like a record skipping on the same note. Soft cartilage, non-fused bones, feathers that never molt, joints that never calcify. Historians still debate whether some small late Jurassic species genuinely reached adulthood or merely survived long enough in juvenile states to mimic maturity. Some bones are hard to age, some creatures even harder. But your body is a paradox, your mind, not so much. You've learned. You've grown even if you haven't. You know what time of day the swamp mist thins just enough to find edible moss. You know that when the trees fall silent, a predator is near. And you know that when your belly growls more than twice an hour, it's time to steal something. Which brings you to your next challenge, the feast. It happens in the north pocket of the valley, where things die, or more accurately, where things are killed. You don't know what hunts there, but you know that when you follow the vultures and the scent of fresh rot, you'll find a leftover meal worth risking your tail for. You approach on tiny paws, each step sinking slightly into the damp loam. The fog is thinner here, maybe because death doesn't like to hide. The air is flavored with iron and regret. Ahead, a massive carcass, some sort of ceratopsid, its frill caved-in legs askew like it fell mid-complaint. Already the scavengers are on it, 3 dromaeosaurs bickering over a liver the size of your torso. You hang back. You've been here before. Not this kill, but this dynamic. You can't fight, you can't snarl, but you can wait. And when the bigger mouths are full or distracted, you scurry in like a shadow on fast forward. Today's trick. You imitate the chirp of a predator's hatchling. A weird, high-pitched whine that triggers protective tension in adult raptors. You've done it before. Sometimes they freeze, sometimes they flee. You chirp. The dromaeosaurs pause mid-snarl. 2 look around. Look around. 1 hisses. The others seem uncertain. You chirp again, softer this time, but with that unmistakable upward inflection. A juvenile, possibly nearby, possibly watching. They bolt. You blink. Did that really work? You scurry in like a thief in a buffet line. Your prize a tendon still attached to the lower leg. Not glamorous, not juicy, but it's yours. And you chew like you just invented the concept of chewing. Half an hour later, you sit beneath a fern belly full and mind buzzing. You did it. Again, and all without growing a single millimeter. Odd fact, sloths in modern rainforests can grow algae on their fur. This gives them natural camouflage, and sometimes an entire ecosystem rides along. You suspect you might be headed in that direction. Your back is starting to itch in a way that suggests moss might be considering a lease. As night falls, the fog returns with an almost theatrical flair. You feel like the star of a one-creature play and the curtain's coming down. Your bones haven't changed. Your size hasn't shifted, but something in you feels different tonight. Like a whisper in the marrow. Like maybe, just maybe, there's a reason you never grew up. But the thought slips away before it finishes forming. And you curl once again into your nest of memories, tendon breath still on your tongue, belly full of questions you're not old enough to ask. Night hums louder here. Not with crickets, those haven't evolved yet, but with the slow creak of leaves dreaming the drip of condensation off mossy ledges, and something else, something deeper. A low, throaty tone that rises only after dusk like a forgotten song made of wind and warning. You lie half awake in your curled nest, soft belly pressed to pulpy leaf mulch, listening to it. That sound again. The one you've heard before. A hum, not quite voice, not quite noise, almost familiar. It comes in pulses, 3, then 2, then 1. Each burst timed just far enough apart that you start to doubt the last one happened. But you're certain. This time, you don't just hear it, you feel it. Like a thumb pressed gently into the base of your skull. Like a memory that hasn't happened yet. You whisper to the dark, not expecting an answer. Is that you? The fog doesn't reply, but it rearranges itself as if trying to hide something behind its folds. You rise, your bones still too soft to creak, slide into motion without complaint. You don't usually move this late. You've seen what prowls the valley after dark. Things that don't make eye contact. Things with mouths in the wrong places. But the sound it isn't calling with hunger. It's calling like it knows you. And it's calling from the direction of the cliffs. You've never gone that far. The cliffs are the spine of the valley, jagged and wet, crowned by black trees that sway as if shaking their heads at anyone dumb enough to approach. But you go. You go because something about that tone reminds you of her. Your mother, though you can't remember what she looked like. Just a scent, maybe. Just the shape of warmth before you even had thoughts to describe it. But every now and then in the sleep between sleeps you dream of a face. Long, feathered, sharp-eyed, but kind. You don't know if it's memory or wishful thinking. Either way you follow. Your steps are silent. You've always moved like an apology, under roots around puddles over bark. One time you stepped on a mushroom and it exploded in a puff of violet dust. You screamed so loud the Hornbill gang relocated. But tonight, you are focused. As you reach the base of the cliffs, the sound grows clearer. It has a rhythm now, almost musical. 3 beats, 2, 1. Pause. 3 beats, 2, 1. You climb. Not dramatically, you don't have claws for it. But there's a slope slick with lichen and you take it slowly, tail swaying for balance. The fog thins here. The moon, high and swollen like it's holding back secrets, glows on the cliff face. And then you see it. A stone alcove. Barely a dent in the rock, but within it feathers. Not yours. Bigger, darker, sleeping. You freeze. It's a creature not unlike you, but older. Not larger, older. You can smell it in the feathers in the breath. This one has seen more seasons than your bones can count, and it's making the sound. Low hum. 3, 2, 1. Repeat. You inch closer. The creature stirs, opens one eye. It's luminous amber-tinted. It blinks, and in that blink you feel recognized. Another one, it whispers. Not with a mouth your kind doesn't have the right vocal cords for whispers, but with breath shaped like words. You chirp, it chuckles. A rasp. A dry leaf dragged across bark. You heard me. You nod. Odd fact. In some bird species today, mothers sing to their unhatched chicks. The embryos respond, kicking more, slowing heart rate. It's believed to help coordinate hatching. You wonder in this moment if that's what drew you here. A call older than understanding. The creature shifts to make space. You settle beside it, careful not to touch, but it hums again. Louder. 3, 2, 1. You match it softly. 3, 2, 1. And the cliff seems to breathe. The fog outside moves in a circular pattern. Wind, but not wind. The very valley seems to respond. Why do you stay small, you ask? It doesn't answer immediately. Just watches you with a gaze that feels heavy but not cruel. Because growing up, it says eventually, is a race toward disappearance. You blink. Big things die quicker, it continues. They chase, they fall, they fossilize. We adapt. Or at least we remember. Historians still debate whether some micro-dinosaur species existed solely in juvenile form, passing on instincts through behavior rather than biology. Fossils of some hatchlings are found with no corresponding adults. Maybe the adults were the hatchlings. Maybe something about the environment made growing up irrelevant. You sit with that. Outside, the valley hums. And for a moment, you don't feel alone. Later, as the sky begins to pale with a suggestion of dawn, you doze at the edge of the alcove. The other creature watches the horizon. It doesn't blink. You dream again of her, the mother call. Not a face this time, but a shadow. Large, protecting, watching you through the leaves. But you never see her step forward, never hear her voice. And in the background of the dream, the rhythm. 3, 2, 1. When you wake, the alcove is empty. No feathers, no scent, Just the impression in the moss where another body once lay. You chirp just once. The fog carries it away. The smell reaches you before the sight does. It's the thick, coppery scent of opportunity, faintly sweet, sticky in the back of your throat, and absolutely impossible to ignore. Your stomach clenches like it just remembered you haven't eaten in, well, let's just say your last meal was more bark than substance. And now drifting through the leaves like a whisper of disaster comes the aroma of something big, broken, and fresh. You creep forward belly low, each step calculated with the precision of someone who's learned the hard way that caution is cheaper than healing. The ground is squelchy today, recently soaked by a night's worth of fog that refused to evaporate. Mushrooms the size of plates glisten beside you. One of them seems to wave, maybe wind, maybe nerves. You ignore it. Priorities. You're heading toward the feast. Not a feast, the rare convergence of misfortune and gluttony. A dead body, a fresh one, and not yet surrounded by teeth too sharp to share. You've learned to spot the signs, the way the vultures circle without landing, the sudden silence in the trees, and that smell, that terrible, beautiful smell. You approach the clearing, the same one where last week a ceratopsian met a bad end. This time it's a hadrosaur. Massive, bloated belly split open like it sighed too hard. You recognize the teeth marks. Big predator. Not hungry enough to finish. That's your cue. But you're not the only one watching. Two others circle already sharp-snouted scavengers with long tails and smarter eyes than usual. Troudentids. Bad news. They're not aggressive, but they're curious, and curiosity is only fun when it's not about you. They're making that sound again, that high-pitched trill, like a knife being sharpened just out of sight. You step back into the brush, and then you begin the plan. You always have a plan, because you're not fast, not strong, and not invited to this party. But you are clever. You inch your way to the corpse's far side using fallen logs and steaming moss as cover. The wind is in your favor, blowing the scent of you away and the scent of death right into your face. Delightful. When you're about 6 tail lengths from the body, you begin your performance. A chirp, loud panicked. Then another lower drawn out like an injured baby calling for help. It's not your real voice. It's a performance. The troodontids pause. They listen. You chirp again. Desperation this time. You've practiced the tone. You even throw in a pathetic hop and a scrape of claw on bark. One of them breaks away, nose lifted. Interested, confused. Historians still debate whether dinosaurs could mimic specific emotional tones the way corvids or parrots can today. Some evidence suggests resonance chambers in their throats could have allowed for a range of sounds. You're living proof that whatever the science says, something about you knows how to lie with sound. While the troodontids investigate your decoy calls, you dive. Under the belly between the ribs, past the puddle of something reddish-purple that you politely ignore. Your prize. A tongue mostly intact, glistening like a fat eel. You clamp your jaws around it and tug. It's heavy, gross, delicious. And then you're caught, not by a predator, by the sight of something. Across the clearing beyond the carrion, another figure. Same size, same build, same round hatchling form. Watching you. It doesn't move, doesn't chirp, just stands there, like a mirror that decided to leave the wall. You freeze, tongue still in your mouth. The world stills. Then a branch snaps nearby. The troodontids are back and they're mad. You bolt, tongue dragging behind you like a slimy ribbon. The other figure doesn't follow, doesn't flinch. You dive into the underbrush, heart-pounding vision pulsing at the edges. You run until the feast is behind you, until the scent of death is just a memory, until your lungs scream and your legs wobble. You collapse under a fern, panting tongue half-chewed and entirely worth it. Odd fact. Did you know some frogs in the Amazon will fake their own death if caught by predators, not just play dead full-on theatrical collapse? One even flopped itself off a cliff once just to sell the scene. You feel a little like that right now. As you lie in the dirt, you think of the figure across the clearing. Same build, same proportions, the same refusal to grow. You're not alone. Something shifts in you. Not physically, of course, because let's not get too hopeful, but mentally. You've always assumed your strange life was a glitch, a one-off. But what if it's a pattern? What if it's on purpose? You chew your tongue prise thoughtfully. Night falls faster now, as if the sun has grown bored with your antics. Shadows stretch across the valley like curious fingers. You curl up, still breathless, still buzzing. And as you close your eyes, you swear you hear it again. 3, 2, 1. Somewhere in the dark. By now, you've accepted that you are a permanent outlier, a fuzzy question mark in a world of sharp exclamation points. You don't run, you don't roar, but you do survive. And lately, you've realized something peculiar: you're not surviving by accident. You've developed tactics, actual honest-to-moss battlefield strategies. And let's be clear, when you're the size of a cat and softer than a peach, you need all the tricks you can muster. Because every day is a menu and you're always listed under appetizer. Today, the trick is psychological warfare. Specifically, confusion. You figured out that if you dart under a larger creature's legs at just the right moment, chirping in a tone that suggests you're either lost or cursed, it creates just enough panic to cover your escape. You once made a fully grown oviraptor trip over its own tail and fall directly into a swamp. It was majestic. That's how you've come to be known by absolutely no one as the tiny tyrant. A whisper in the underbrush, a myth that steals insects from nests, food from jaws, and dignity from everything else. Your favorite targets. Hatchling nests that aren't yours. You never take much, just enough to keep your belly from turning on itself. A beetle here, a sliver of unhatched yolk there. You're careful, never greedy. You operate by one simple rule: don't draw attention unless it's the wrong kind. You've even got your own scavenger call now. It's a shrill two-note chirp with a downward tilt that suggests urgency. It sounds exactly like a predator's chicken trouble, which means adult predators often hesitate just long enough for you to swoop in and grab a grub. Historians still debate whether certain small theropods evolved mimicry behaviors purely for scavenging advantage. Some fossilized larynx structures suggest a surprising vocal range in otherwise unimpressive sized dinosaurs. That may sound academic, but in your world, a well-timed squeak is the difference between a meal and a memorial. You put your latest plan into motion when you spot the Hornbill gang returning. They've nested high in a tree that's about one fall away from falling, and their clumsy landings have dislodged a few promising nest openings filled with plump, sticky bug clusters. You watch from behind a trunk. Then you act. You scurry out with an exaggerated limp, dragging one leg behind you like a melodramatic actor in a prehistoric soap opera. One of the hornbills screeches in alarm, leaps from the branch, and flaps away in panic. That's your cue. You dart in. Quick nibble here, one squishy larva there, a nibble of moss paste smeared around the nest edge. You're in and out in less than 5 seconds. Minds. Back into the ferns, prize in your cheek pouches. You pause to chew, smug. Odd fact. Some small mammals today use their cheek pouches to store not just food, but tools. You suspect if you ever came across something vaguely spiky and useful, you'd carry it too. Later that day, as the light turns syrupy and insects start buzzing with that irritating insistence that evening is here, you find a new sound worth following. It's a vibration more than anything, faint, regular. Thump, thump, thump. You felt it before, long ago. You just didn't know you felt it. You follow it. Over roots, under vines, through a tunnel left behind by something that was either enormous or extremely indecisive in its direction. The ground gets firmer, the trees thinner, and then open space. A small rise of rock, flat, exposed, bathed in light for the first time all day. You climb it slowly. Every instinct tells you this is dangerous. But the sound is here, close. Then you see it. A shadow moves beyond the ridge. Another one like you, not the same one as before, smaller, lighter feathers, big eyes. Bigger than yours even. It watches you. You chirp. It chirps back. The same pattern, 3 notes. Pause. 2 notes. Pause. 1. The rhythm again. This isn't random anymore. It's how you find each other. You take a step forward, but then a growl, low, deep. So deep it feels like your own lungs are shivering. The other juvenile bolts. Vanishes into the mist. You freeze. From the shadows steps a predator. Long-legged, narrow-eyed. A coelurosaur. One of the local stalkers. Not massive, but big enough. Fast. Sharp. It sees you. And here's where your tactic comes in. You chirp 3 notes. Then you hop. In place. Erratically. You flap your arms like you're malfunctioning. It's part dance, part seizure, part ancient magic. The predator blinks. You chirp again louder. You lurch sideways. You spin once. The predator growls, but it's confused. You're not prey. You're weird. Possibly sick. Possibly poisonous. Possibly cursed. And just like that, it walks away. Historians still debate whether erratic motion in small species served as warning, mimicry, or distraction. Some suggest that prehistoric prey performed bizarre behaviors to imitate disease or instability. You'd like to think of yourself as a pioneer in that field. Once the predator disappears, you sink to the ground panting. You've survived another day by being ridiculous. You lie there in the fading light, belly against the warm stone, feeling the ground beneath you vibrate again. That rhythm. 3, 2, 1. Maybe it's not a call. Maybe it's a map. It starts with thunder, but not the sky kind. This thunder is underfoot. You wake to the tremble of it. A pulse in the mud. The kind of tremor that shakes water off leaves and rattles your tiny chest like a warning drum. You blink dazed, clutching a beetle shell you were using as a pillow. Your instinct says hide, but your memory says herd. Because this isn't the first time you felt this kind of movement. You peek through the ferns, and there they are. The thunder limbs. A dozen ankylosaurs. Maybe more. A living wall of armor plates, club tails, and slow, deliberate steps. They don't gallop. They glide. If glaciers had legs and personality disorders, this would be them. And you follow. Not beside them, that'd be suicidal, but near, within breathing distance of their warmth. Close enough to feel the vibration in your teeth. Because odd as it sounds, they're the safest danger around. No one messes with them, not even predators. Not unless they're suicidal, starving, or trying to prove something to their therapist. So you trail them, duck between their tracks, mimic their pace. You're just another shadow in their gravity field, a satellite clinging to a dinosaur moon. One of them farts thunderously and sends a cloud of insects skyward. You catch one mid-flight chew and nod respectfully. You once tried to ride one. Big mistake. You hopped onto the back of the smallest ankylosaur thinking you'd found your personal tour bus. It reacted by spinning in a confused circle for 3 full minutes and then sitting down. On you. You survived. Barely. But it's a story you don't repeat, mostly because no one would believe you and also because your tail still twitches at the memory. Today, though, you're smarter. You don't ride. You follow. And for a while it works. They move through dense groves, flattening paths as they go. You eat their leftovers. Dropped berries, crunched ferns, the occasional lizard, too slow to get out of the way. You're like a cleaner fish on a whale, except smaller, and with more anxiety. But then they stop, all of them, at once, which is never a good sign. You freeze behind a tree root peeking through moss. Ahead lies something strange, a clearing they didn't create. Flat, round, empty, as if something had scooped the forest away with a spoon. At its center, a pit, shallow, perfectly circular, and steaming. The ankylosaurs sniff the air turn and one by one begin to back away. You stay, frozen eyes wide, because that pit, it smells wrong, like ash, like minerals, like breath that never cooled. You've read about this in the way the trees speak to each other, in the patterns of broken bark, in the stories left behind by older footprints. This is volcanic ground, the kind that sometimes wakes up angry. The ankylosaurs are leaving. Quickly for them. Their footsteps are deliberate, but You can tell they're scared. You panic. Do you follow? Do you investigate? What's a tiny eternal baby supposed to do when the land itself might explode? Naturally, you do the dumb thing. You go closer, because the steam is whispering. Not literally, but almost. It curls in the same 3-2-1 rhythm you've heard before. That pulse, that song, the call. You step onto the edge and immediately regret it. The ground is warm, too warm. It vibrates differently here. Not the beat of a herd, but something older, something deeper. You circle the pit, sniffing tail low. Then movement. From within the mist rises a shape. At first you think it's just steam, then feathers. It's another you. No, not quite. Taller, leaner, still juvenile in form but elongated. Like someone pressed stretch on a version of you. Its eyes glow faintly in the geothermal haze. It stares, you stare, and then it speaks not with words but with presence. A chirp, rhythmic. 3, 2, 1. You answer. It cocks its head, then turns, and vanishes into a crevice behind the steaming pit. You try to follow, but the ground shifts beneath your feet. A minor quake. The start of something. Lava doesn't gush up, but the warning is clear. Leave. So you do. You sprint, wobble after the retreating herd who are now half a hill ahead and not interested in your safety deposit. You catch up just as one of the older ankylosaurs swings its tail lazily at a buzzing pterosaur. It misses. You duck. No harm done. You nestle into the indent of a massive footprint left behind in wet soil, catching your breath. Heart stuttering from more than just exertion. You're safe, but shaken. Odd fact. Elephants today are known to communicate through ground vibrations, low-frequency rumbles that can travel miles through soil. You wonder if your kind has something similar, something instinctual, something ancient. As the herd moves on, oblivious to your tiny revelations, you glance back at the smoking pit. The ground remembers things, and apparently so do you. The sun finally shows up like a guest who forgot they were invited late, awkward, and entirely unimpressive. Its light slinks down through the canopy, casting gold onto rot-warming puddles you'd rather not step in and lighting up every speck of dust in the air. It doesn't bring comfort. It brings clarity. And you hate that. Because this morning you've decided you're going to grow. Enough is enough. You're tired of the stunted legs, the soft skull, the chirp that sounds like you swallowed a whistle. You're tired of hiding behind ferns, licking beetles like lollipops, and getting ignored by creatures who think you're a decorative fungus. So you begin your transformation journey. Like a self-help montage but prehistoric. Step 1, sunbathing. You drag yourself to a flat rock that catches direct light for about 2 hours before the clouds guilt-trip the sun back into hiding. You stretch across it like an abandoned scarf. You imagine your bones soaking up calcium, your limbs lengthening, your voice cracking like a teenager who's finally had enough. You roast for 10 minutes. Then you get dizzy. Apparently being small comes with less blood, and less blood doesn't do well on hot rocks. You stagger into the shade panting. Step 2, fasting. You've heard, well, not heard more, like instinctually guessed that sometimes when animals stop eating, it triggers a transformation, like a spiritual reset. You decide to try it. You refuse all snacks, even the moss pudding that grows in the groove beside your nest. You stare at it dramatically and turn away. 2 hours in, you're licking bark. By hour 4, you're chewing your own feathers. Not because you're hungry, because you're petty. You hate that you're failing at this. Again, odd fact. Some amphibians in extreme environments will try to force metamorphosis by depriving themselves of moisture or nutrients. It rarely works, but they do it anyway because sometimes desperation feels a lot like hope. Step 3, volcanic rock nap. Remember the steaming pit? Well, you're not dumb enough to go back in, but you do find a warm outcrop nearby. Smooth, flat humming with the memory of magma. You stretch out again, hoping the heat will convince your body to evolve. You dream. In your dream, you molt. Not your feathers, your skin. It peels back like paper bark, and beneath it, scales. Hard, glimmering adult. You grow in bursts, legs stretching, claws sharpening, tail elongating. You roar, a real roar, the kind that echoes off stone and makes predators rethink dinner. Then you wake up and realize you've drooled on yourself. No scales, no growth. Still you. You slump. This isn't a sad moment. Not really. It's more like one of those quiet realizations that taste like metal. You were built a certain way. That's it. No dramatic puberty, no late-stage metamorphosis. Just you. Forever baby-shaped with a brain that thinks far ahead of your bone structure. Historians still debate whether some dinosaurs possessed latent evolutionary triggers, physical shifts unlocked only by environmental extremes. The fossil record shows hints but no proof. You're starting to suspect that your body does have such a trigger. It's just broken. Or maybe it evolved in reverse. You spend the next few hours walking aimlessly, not because you're looking for food or shelter or even company, but because walking reminds you that you're still participating, still doing something, still a verb, not a noun. At one point you stop at a pool of water. Not the usual puddle, but a proper still pond. The kind that reflects you too well. You stare. Your eyes are large. They always have been. Great for spotting movement, bad for self-reflection. Literally, your reflection looks unfamiliar. You squint. Behind you in the water's surface, a shadow. You spin. Nothing. You chirp. Silence. Then one small ripple in the pond. And a reply. A chirp. Just like yours. Then another. From across the water. There. Hidden in the ferns. Watching. Not a threat. A sibling. Or something close to it. Same size, same shape, same ridiculous proportions. You lock eyes, and you both just nod. It's not a moment of triumph, not some grand reunion, just a quiet confirmation that you are not alone in your weirdness. Odd fact. Some modern animals are born with mirror neurons, brain cells that let them sync with others without speaking. Birds do it. Octopuses do it. Humans do it when they smile back at someone who's smiling. Maybe you just did it too. That night back in your nest, you curl up around a warm stone. You're not bigger. You're not stronger. But you're no longer trying to be. And in the stillness, just before sleep, grabs you by the eyelids, you hear the rhythm again. Not just in your head. Somewhere out in the dark, it sings. 3, 2, 1. It begins with a hiss, like the valley is exhaling from somewhere deep inside its lungs. You wake with your belly pressed to cool dirt and your nostrils twitching. The air smells wrong, warmer, wetter, and tinged with something metallic like rusted water or blood diluted by time. Then the hiss turns to a roar. Not a creature, not thunder, but water angry fast and not supposed to be here. You scramble upright as the wind changes. It carries leaves, debris, panic. Insects fly the wrong way. Birds you've never even heard before screech and vanish in every direction. The soil beneath your feet begins to vibrate just slightly, and that's all the warning you get. A wall of rain, no, not just rain flood, slams through the forest like it's on a grudge mission. You hear the first tree snap before you see the water. Then another like bones under pressure. Then it's coming. You run, or at least you hustle. Your limbs aren't made for sprinting. They're made for being small and ignored. Today, unfortunately, neither quality is especially helpful. Behind you, a foamy surge crashes through ferns, uproots mushrooms, sweeps nests into oblivion. It's not a pretty river, it's rage with momentum. You chirp not to signal, not to confuse, just out of habit. A stress squeak. You leap onto a log that moves instantly beneath you. Great! Now you're surfing on a tree. Definitely not part of your skill set. Historians still debate whether dinosaurs survived flash floods by instinct or dumb luck. Fossil beds sometimes show layers of mixed species all drowned together in a single watery event. You're now auditioning to become one of those layers. The log bumps against a stone and tosses you off like unwanted luggage. You hit the water sideways and get sucked under instantly. For a moment, you're weightless, thoughtless, just a blur of bubbles and current. Then branches. Your claws snag something. You flail. Kick. Gasp. Air. You surface inside a cluster of twisted roots, some kind of half-submerged embankment. You cling like a leaf in a storm, panting, soaked, and looking more like a plucked fruit than a predator. And somehow you're alive. But the valley isn't. From your spot in the roots, you watch as the flood redefines everything you knew. Nesting grounds gone. Favorite moss dislodged. That weird tree with the split trunk you used as a landmark, floating away with a very confused hornbill riding it. You stay put, shivering. Eventually, the worst of the water passes. It leaves behind destruction, mud, and silence so thick it might as well be fog. You crawl out dripping and squelch into what's left of your world. The familiar smells are gone. Washed away. Everything reeks of silt and rot and fresh chaos. You move carefully each footstep, testing the new landscape like it's a trap. Odd fact. After storms in modern rainforests, frogs will sometimes sing louder, not in joy, but because fewer predators are listening. The world resets, and for a moment, the smallest voices carry farther. You're not singing, but you are whispering to yourself. Reassurance, maybe madness, hard to say. Then, as you pass a fallen tree, you see it. A hole, not just any hole, a tunnel. The flood has revealed a hidden network beneath the forest floor. Lava tubes, maybe, or erosion-carved caves. Either way, it's dry inside, and more importantly, dark. You slip in. Inside, it smells like the past. Dust, stone, and the faintest memory of sulfur. You pause, adjusting to the dimness. Your eyes are good in low light, one of the few perks of being forever child-shaped. You walk deeper. The tunnel narrows, then widens again. You follow it by instinct. Something is pulling you. Not gravity, not fear. Something else. You begin to hear echoes not your own. Distant, small, familiar. You chirp, a reply. 3, 2, 1. Of course. The rhythm's been underground this whole time. You move faster, careful, but eager. Then you see light, natural light filtering down through a crack in the stone above. A shaft. And beneath it, something incredible. A cluster. 6, maybe 7. All like you. Small, round-headed, bright-eyed. One is singing the rhythm paw, tapping a beat against the floor like it's always known the tune. Another is scratching patterns into the soft stone. Symbols, loops, repetitions. You approach. They don't flinch. One chirps in your direction, then returns to humming. As if you're expected. As if your presence is part of the rhythm. You sit, breathe, and for the first time in what feels like forever, you're not a mistake. You're a pattern. One that sings underground. Time bends underground. Not in a fancy science fiction way. There's no wormhole in here, no time portal hidden behind glowing mushrooms. But something about the underground clock just doesn't tick like it does on the surface. You wake when your body tells you to not the sun. You sleep when the rhythms go quiet, not when the sky darkens. In this deep, lava-carved tunnel, you live by pulses in the stone, vibrations through your chest, whispers of presence, not light. It's comforting in a way. The outside world is chaos, too wet, too loud, too committed to aging. In here, everything just pauses. You share the space with 7 others. Not siblings, not quite. You never hatched together. You didn't share yolk breath or nest warmth. But you're the same shape, same size, same unfinished frame. It's like the valley collected you one after the other and tucked you into its quietest pocket. Each of them is strange in their own way. One has spots that shift colors slightly with mood. Another hums constantly in their sleep, the rhythm always 3-2-1. One of them walks only in circles like they're orbiting an idea too big to process. You're not the leader. That role doesn't exist here. No one's big enough to lead. No one's old enough to boss. You're just a collection of children who never grew up physically frozen, but behaviorally, something else. Historians still debate whether behavior can age without the body, whether instincts refine even if bones don't. In modern biology, some animals show developmental stasis physically while still evolving socially. You're proof that maybe brains outpace bone. Maybe emotion outlives form. Your days are simple now. You forage as a group, skittering out of the tunnel in small pairs, always returning before the rhythm fades. You've learned that the beat 3-2-1 is stronger at certain times. You don't know what triggers it, but you know when to expect it, like a tide made of sound. Sometimes you find food. Berries, bugs, the occasional scrap of fungus. Sometimes you bring it back. Sometimes you just eat together in silence. One day, the circled walker stops mid-rotation and scratches something into the ground. Not randomly, a symbol, a loop, then a break, then 3 notches. The others gather. You all stare. Then another adds a second symbol beside it. 2 lines, then 1, then 3 more notches. No one explains anything, but somehow you all understand. You're documenting something. The rhythm, maybe the time, maybe yourselves. Odd fact. Elephants have been known to scratch symbols into mud banks using sticks. They return to the same spots sometimes for years. Scientists aren't sure if it's morning memory or just muscle repetition. You wonder if you're doing the same scratching meaning into stone because it feels necessary. One evening, if evening even means anything anymore, you catch your reflection in a puddle. You look different. Not older, not bigger, but there's a posture shift, a calmness in your own eyes you hadn't seen before. You still have the same ridiculous proportions, the same fuzzball tail and baby round snout, but you no longer feel small. Maybe size isn't measured in inches here. Maybe it's measured in comprehension. You lie down near the cymbal scratchers and tap your tail to the beat. The others join in lazily at first, then in unison. The whole chamber hums with soft thumps. It's hypnotic. And then, during the rhythm's final pulse, something deeper answers back. A vibration from farther below. The stone responds. The whole floor shifts just slightly, an echo not of sound, but of presence. Something beneath you. Something older. The others freeze. Then slowly, you all lay down. Instinct. Possibly. Reverence maybe. You don't know why, but it feels like the right thing to do. You sleep like that, pressed to the floor, cheek against stone, listening with your whole body. And you dream. You dream of being above ground, of giants stomping through forests unable to see you, of predators who sniff and pass you by, of sunlight that flickers but doesn't matter. And then in the center of it all, that old imagined mother, not taller, not grander, just there, watching, approving. When you wake, no one speaks. The symbols remain. The rhythm continues. And you understand you've stopped trying to be part of the outside world. You're part of something underneath now. It takes a landslide to wake you, literally. You don't see it. Of course, you hear it. A groaning crackle above, followed by a violent rush of sound like the entire sky just sneezed. Dust explodes into your underground chamber. You and the others scatter in a blur of chirps and instinct, slipping behind rocks, burrowing into hollows, pressing your soft bodies into any shadow you can find. And then, silence, not peace. The wrong kind of silence. The kind that feels like something left the room and took the air with it. You emerge last as always. The oldest of the youngest. The most cautious of the least threatening. The tunnel you came in through is blocked, collapsed. A blanket of rock now seals the way back. You chirp once, quiet. Not for help, just to check your own voice still works. The others do the same. One starts the rhythm again. 3, 2, 1. It helps, but change has arrived. Uninvited, immovable. And it's forcing a question, stay and starve or find another way out. You vote with your feet. The group moves like liquid, no one leading, no one following. Just 8 creatures who never grew up, slinking through tight stone hallways and uncertain tunnels, navigating by feel and frequency. You pass dried puddles, fossilized roots, At one point, the tunnel opens to a chamber so tall you can't see the top. And for a moment, you all just sit there, eyes wide, necks craned. The space feels like it belongs to something massive and you are intruding, but nothing stirs. Eventually, the tunnels slope upward. The air shifts from stale to earthy. Warmer, moister, you climb. And then daylight. You blink, squint, recoil. The forest looks wrong. Brighter, younger. The trees are newer. The ferns are smaller. The entire canopy has shifted color. No more fog, just light. You step forward and realize you've been gone longer than you thought. The ground feels different underfoot. Looser, softer, as if it hasn't compacted yet. As if it's still getting to know itself. You're not just in another part of the valley. You're in another time. Odd fact. Some species of frogs and turtles can hibernate underground for years, encased in mud and silence, emerging when conditions return to favorable. Some desert plants lie dormant for decades, sprouting only after the rarest rain. You wonder how long were you down there? You look around. None of the landmarks remain. The steaming pit is gone. So is the fallen log. Even the pond you used to visit reflects different stars now. You chirp, and then you hear a reply. Not from your group, not the rhythm, but from the trees. A long, slow croon, familiar. You turn, and there it is. A creature not like you, but once was. Bigger. Taller. Not an adult, not exactly, but aged. Its feathers are ragged, its eyes are sunken, but the shape is unmistakable. One of the others, one of the forever young, but older. It survived. You step forward. It chirps softly, not the rhythm, something simpler. A greeting, a recognition. You match it. It cocks its head and walks toward you with halting steps. You both circle each other once, then again, then sit. No words, no drama, just acknowledgement. Then it nudges a mossy rock with its snout. You follow its gesture, another symbol, scratched into the surface. Your symbol, the one your group invented in the underground, the 3 marks, the 2, the 1. You stare. It nods. The others gather watching. There are more of you now than ever, more than you expected, and they've been waiting. Historians still debate whether behavior-based culture existed in non-avian dinosaurs. While physical tools are unlikely, social memory symbol use sound patterns. Learned group behaviors may have been more common than fossil evidence reveals. You are at this moment a walking hypothesis. You spend the rest of the day exploring. The aged one shows you new paths, safer groves, places where the rhythm still echoes faintly underfoot. You all eat together from a bush thick with yellow berries that taste like honey and regret. You nap on overlapping tails. And as the sun sets, an unfamiliar sun hotter and more direct than you remember, you realize something. You are the oldest sibling now, not because you grew, because you returned. The ground hums again tonight, not like a warning, not like a predator's weight, but like a lullaby trapped in the dirt. It pulses beneath your belly while you sleep, while your tail twitches in dreams, while your breath synchronizes with something ancient. You wake to that rhythm not in fear but in curiosity. 3, 2, 1. It's changed. The beat's a little faster now, like it knows you're listening, like it's guiding you somewhere. The others feel it too. They don't speak, you can't not, the way creatures with lips and rules do, but they respond. One scratches a new version of the symbol into a fresh patch of earth. 3 notches, then a swirl, then 1, then 2. It's evolving. You know what this is. It's not just a pattern. It's a song. You leave the nest grove early before the sky even warms, following the vibration, with the others trailing loosely behind. You don't move in a line. You meander, a constellation of footsteps, forming and reforming with each turn. Every one of you hears it now, and it's leading you somewhere you've never been. You pass new trees, strange trees, ones with bark that peels in strips and smells like ash and cinnamon. Their branches click together in the wind, and it sounds eerily like murmuring. The forest is younger here, less aggressive, not trying so hard to survive. It gives you space. The ground is soft, covered in red moss that stains your feet but cushions your steps. Then you see it. A clearing shaped like a bowl. Not natural, or at least not accidentally so. The stones around it form loose spirals stacked without logic but somehow intentional. At its center, a circle of feathers. Not your kind. Larger, sleek, black with purple tips. And sitting in the middle is a creature. Not like you, but also not like you. It's older, definitely adult, but with your same proportions. As if someone took your exact shape and scaled it up just enough to command attention. Its eyes are closed. It's humming. No, not humming. Singing. 3, 2, 1. Then a pause. Then again, you step forward. The others hang back, but you don't. Because something in the back of your skull is vibrating now. A warm pressure behind your eyes. A memory that isn't yours but feels borrowed from something larger than you. The creature opens its eyes. They're gold, not in color, in presence. Like someone melted a sunrise into 2 spheres and stuck them in a skull. It chirps. You respond automatic. It blinks slowly, then spreads its arms, not wings, not exactly, but long feathered limbs, and begins a slow sweeping motion. A dance. You watch. Then you copy it. Small movements at first, mimicking the sway, the tail flick, the foot tap. The others step forward, curious, and soon the clearing hums with movement. A circle of never-grown dancing with the fully formed. A rhythm made real. Odd fact. Some birds today are born with song templates genetically embedded in their brains. They must hear the adult version during a critical window, or they lose the ability to sing it properly forever. You wonder, was this song always inside you waiting for the right singer? As the day burns toward evening, the song changes. It becomes a cycle, 3 notes, 2 taps, 1 beat. Repeat. Then again, a pattern even your bones recognize. The adult steps aside, and you step into the center. Not chosen, not instructed, just expected. You tap the beat. 3, 2, 1. Then pause. Then you chirp a variation, not louder, not better, but yours. The others echo it, and the adult nods. No words, just rhythm and understanding. That night you lie beneath the stars, not your stars, not the ones you remember. These are new, tilted, brighter, unfamiliar constellations blinking down like curious eyes. You stare up at them and wonder how many others are listening to their own ground songs. How many tiny ones never grew but found something better instead, a melody of meaning. Historians still debate whether early dinosaur communities passed behavior through cultural transmission, non-genetic learning passed between generations, or peers. There's no fossil for memory. But tonight, you are part of something that feels very, very old. The adult nestles near you. Not close, just near enough to feel like warmth. You chirp once. 3, 2, 1. It hums back, and the ground joins in. It starts like so many things do in your world, with silence that doesn't feel empty. The morning air is still, no fog today. Just the scent of new ferns and disturbed soil, the kind that says something passed this way. You're following a trail, not food, not shelter, but memory. You're looking for the predator that remembered you. You felt it watching you for days. Always just outside the brush line. You haven't seen its face yet, but the way it hesitates, the way it stops and stares when it could have pounced. That's not hunger, that's recognition. You remember the first time you were younger. Well, let's be honest, you still look the same but newer. You were chirping under a carcass, mimicking the sound of a distressed hatchling to scare off scavengers. It worked sort of, until something actually came for you. A raptor, sleek, fast, smarter than the average tooth delivery system. You had no defense, so you did the only thing you could. You chirped at it in its own tone, a perfect mimic. You weren't trying to survive, you were just copying. That's what babies do. But it stopped, tilted its head, sniffed the air, and then left. You never forgot that. Neither, it seems, did it. Now it's back. You see the tracks before you see the predator. 3 toes, deep impressions, close together. a low-slung gait made for speed, but not used. These prints were careful, calculated. Someone's been following you, not stalking you. You reach a clearing and feel it before you see it. Eyes, watching. Then movement. It steps from the brush like a question answered halfway. Same body as before, taller perhaps, a little leaner, feathers molted down the back, but unmistakably the same predator, the one who walked away. You chirp, soft, deliberate. 3, 2, 1. It doesn't respond. Instead, it blinks, tilts its head, and makes a sound you don't expect. Not a growl, not a hiss, a chirp, rough, broken, as if it hasn't done it in a long time. Or never tried before. You freeze, not from fear, from curiosity. Historians still debate whether predator-prey relationships could evolve into something more nuanced over generations, mutual recognition, even mimicry. In some modern ecosystems, predators occasionally adopt behaviors from their prey to lure, confuse, or avoid conflict. But what if it goes deeper? What if it becomes personal? The raptor steps forward. You hold your ground. One of your group spots. The one with shifting color feathers steps beside you, sees the raptor, doesn't flinch, just watches. Another joins, then another. Now the clearing holds 7 small figures facing one tall one. No threats, no retreat. The raptor growls low in its throat. Then to your astonishment it crouches, not pouncing, mimicking. It takes the same posture you use to listen. Head low, eyes half-lidded. A resting shape, a non-attack shape. You blink, then you move. A slow circle, tail steady, limbs loose. You begin the rhythm. 3, 2, 1. The others join in. The raptor watches, doesn't move. But breathes slower now, quieter, like it's remembering something or learning something for the first time. And then without warning, it turns, walks away. Not hurried, not frightened, just done. You don't follow. You understand. Sometimes recognition is the end of the story. Sometimes knowing someone saw you and didn't devour you is all the closure you need. Odd fact. Dolphins have been observed remembering each other's unique whistle patterns for decades, even after years of separation. Recognition, not just recollection, is a cornerstone of complex memory. As the raptor vanishes back into the trees, you feel a shift. Not in the wind. In you. Something loosens. Something ancient. A knot that's been tied since you hatched, since you realized you weren't going to grow, since you knew everything saw you as snackable or ignorable. You're not just prey. You're known. And that's a kind of power you didn't know you were allowed to have. That night, you fall asleep under a hollowed log beside your group. The stars pulse above like scattered teeth in a dark jaw. And you dream not of escape or growth or transformation. You dream of being seen and left alone. And it's the most comforting dream you've ever had. The ash comes slowly at first like shy snow, a soft fall of gray particles drifting down from a sky that no longer seems entirely committed to being blue. You blink as one lands on your snout, then sneeze so loudly that 3 of the others leap behind a log like you'd exploded. You sniff the air. The scent is familiar, burned stone, dry, lightning, distant smoke. Not fire. Not yet. Just ash, light as memory, heavy as warning. You've seen this before. Not in this lifetime, maybe. But deep in your bones, something remembers. This is what happens when the valley resets itself. You scurry to higher ground, if it can even be called that. A sloped ridge of compacted roots and moss just tall enough to peer over the tree line. And what you see takes your breath away. A cloud. Towering. Roiling. Black at the base, glowing at the core. It stretches into the atmosphere like the world is trying to erase itself in one long fiery exhale. Volcano. Not near, not yet. But the wind knows how to gossip. You race back down chittering sharp bursts of alert. The others gather wide-eyed. None of you have a plan. None of you have ever had a plan. But there's a rhythm to this fear. It moves through your group like a beat you've known all your life. 3, 2, 1. Time to go. The adult. The one who sang to you appears at the edge of the grove. No panic, just that slow, graceful pace. It chirps once, low, commanding. Then it turns and walks. And you all follow. The journey isn't frantic. You avoid the usual predators. Either they've already left or they're too distracted by the change in the air. Even the scavengers have gone quiet, like the world itself is holding its breath. Odd fact. Some species of tortoises can sense seismic activity through vibrations in their shells, moving to higher ground hours before tremors occur. You wonder if the rhythm you followed for so long was never a song, but a seismograph. The group moves steadily through corridors of ash and light. The trees thin, the sky turns copper, the ground is warmer. Not dangerous yet, but impatient. You pass familiar places made unrecognizable. The berry grove is buried under gray. The pond is coated in a film of dust. Even the steaming pit, once dangerous, now seems like a lukewarm memory. And still the adult leads. You climb a ridge you've never seen before. A path once blocked by fallen trees, now cleared by shifting earth. Nature rearranging itself, a rare gift, or a final invitation. At the top of view, the valley below. Once your whole world now looks like a painting left out in the rain. Soft edges, muted colors, places you used to hide now, drowned in ash and shadow. And at the far edge, a line of fire, crawling, slow, determined. You all sit, not in fear, in awe. Because endings aren't always apocalyptic. Sometimes they're just quiet. The adult sings again. No rhythm this time. Just a long, slow note, like a goodbye stretched across a sunrise. The others join in their small voices, rising like steam from cracked earth. You hesitate. Then you sing too. Your voice blends not perfectly, not powerfully, but honestly. Historians still debate what caused the mass die-offs in certain Mesozoic microclimates. Sudden volcanism. Climate shifts airborne toxins, none of them leave perfect evidence. But maybe, just maybe, some creatures saw it coming. Maybe some simply watched. You remain at the ridge for hours. No one moves. The sky darkens not from nightfall, but from the sheer volume of ash. It descends like a second skin, wrapping the world in soft decay. You curl beside the others, shoulder to shoulder, eyes blinking against the gentle fall. And somehow you feel peaceful. Because while everything below changes, burns, buries, forgets, you do not. You have not changed in form, but you have changed in meaning. Once a leftover, now a witness. Once a glitch, now a constant. As the first ember lands in the valley and lights up a fern like a torch, you turn away, not in fear, in understanding. The world restarts. You stay. By morning, if it can still be called that, the sky is a parchment of soot. No sun pierces it, no warmth slips through, just gray on gray, a dim smear of light that hovers over the valley like a memory left too long in the rain. You sit on the ridge, blinking ash from your lashes. Your group is quieter now. Not fearful, just still. You're all watching, waiting, breathing in the slow rhythm of survival. 3, 2, 1. But this morning something feels different. The adult hasn't moved. It rests near the base of a tree, feathers. Dulled by dust, breathing shallow but steady. You watch its chest rise and fall slower with each cycle. You chirp softly. It doesn't answer. You move closer, pressing your forehead to the curve of its shoulder. The heat is still there but faint. You feel it exhale once. Then again. And then, nothing. You don't panic. None of you do. The others gather. One by one, they form a ring around the adult's body. Not tight, not closed, just near. Each one hums a different note, not the rhythm. A new sound, something softer, something lower. You add your note, not a song of grief, a song of continuation. You remember a place, a grove, where the sound was strongest? A spot beneath the roots where the earth itself seemed to breathe in time with you. You glance at the others. They feel it too. The pull. You leave the ridge. Together, you carry no weight, no bones, just memory. That's the thing no predator can chew through. The valley below smolders now. Trees collapse one by one, slow-motion silhouettes against the rising curtain of ash. But you don't look back. The world behind you is finished, a story with a period, not a comma. You pass through the thinning trees, your feet leaving the lightest prints in the dust. And you arrive. The grove is still here, unburned, untouched, somehow shielded by a bend in the rock, a quirk of the wind, a trick of chance. Ferns still rise dripping dew. Mushrooms glow faintly under the roots. And the ground, still humming, you curl into a nest formed not by hands but by return. The soil knows you. The trees remember your scent. You don't need to mark your presence. You simply resume it. Odd fact. Certain species of cicadas live underground for 17 years, then emerge, sing, and vanish. Their lives defined not by what changes, but by when they surface. You wonder how long you'll stay here this time. 10 years, 50. Another epic. You don't care, because you understand the rhythm now. It isn't a call, it's a clock. And you're the second hand no one notices but always returns. As night falls, and yes, it still falls. Even when the sky is this thick, you press your cheek to the earth and let the vibrations sing you to sleep. You don't dream of growing. You don't dream of escape. You dream of standing still while the world moves around you, of being the one thread that weaves through every version of the valley. You are the dinosaur that never grew past its baby form, and you are eternal. Time drifts soft and slow here now, like dust spiraling in lazy loops through warm air. The ash has long since settled. The sky no longer glows with fire. And you're still here. Curled in a nest that time forgot, breathing in rhythm with a ground that never stopped humming. You're smaller than most things that lived through the fire. Quieter. Stranger. A creature that never grew, never changed, never gave in to the script the world expected you to follow. You didn't evolve by inches, you evolved by presence. Around you, the valley regrows, slowly, fern by fern. Spores take root in the cracked earth. New trees dare the ash to smother them. The wind returns softer now, threading the same old rhythm through the leaves. 3, 2, 1. And you still move with it. The others sleep near you, a tangle of fur, feather, and breath. You're not alone. You never were. You just didn't know what to call yourselves back then. Now, maybe you do. The ones who remembered. The ones who listened. The ones who didn't need to grow to matter. You open one eye to watch the mist return, gentle and familiar, curling low across the grove like an old song. And as your heartbeat slows to match the rhythm, you whisper something you've always known. You were never unfinished. You were timed.